everyone, and welcome to this special coverage on CGTN. I'm Zhongshi live in Beijing. Today, September 30th, marks China's 10th Martyrs Day. And this day is designated to remember and honor the men and women who have sacrificed their lives for the country and carry forward their heroic spirit. Commemorations are underway nationwide. And here in the Chinese capital, President Xi Jinping joins government and party officials and representatives from all walks of life to pay tribute at the Monument to the People's Heroes in Tiananmen Square. China has a long tradition of commemorating and honoring those who lost their lives serving the country. But Martyrs Day only came into being in 2014. Let's now take a closer look at the significance of the occasion.
In August 2014, China's top legislature approved September 30th to be commemorated as Martyrs' Day across the nation. The decision gave Chinese people a day dedicated to those who made the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good of the Chinese nation. It is said that this move is aimed at publicizing the martyrs' achievements and spirit and cultivating patriotism, collectivism, and socialist moralities, so as to consolidate the Chinese nation's cohesiveness. Martyrs' Day, which comes just one day before China's National Day on October 1st, has a special significance. It was also the day on which the foundations were laid for the Monument to the People's Heroes in 1949, which stands at the heart of Beijing's Tiananmen Square.
The ceremony for Martyrs' Day will soon be held at Tiananmen Square. The Monument to the People's Heroes stands prominently at the center of the square. And here's a brief look at its history.
The Chinese government made the decision to build a monument in 1949, the year the People's Republic of China was founded. On the pedestal, there are 8 huge bas-reliefs carved out of white marble, depicting scenes from the First Opium War in 1840 to the new China's founding in 1949. The monument bears a message drafted by Mao Zedong and written by the late Premier Zhou Enlai. It emphasizes 3 periods: the 3-year War of Liberation in the late 1940s, the 30-year New Democratic Revolution from 1919 to 1949, and the difficult times since the First Opium War in 1840. The message says, "Eternal glory to the heroes of the people who laid down their lives in the People's War of Liberation and the People's Revolution. Eternal glory to the heroes of the people who from 1840 laid down their lives in the struggles against domestic and foreign enemies and for national independence and the freedom and well-being of the people." The front of the monument bears an inscription in Mao Zedong's handwriting, which says, "Eternal glory to the people's heroes."
And for the very latest, let's check in with CGTN reporter Dong Xue, who is right beside the Monument to the People's Heroes in Tiananmen Square. Dong Xue, what a solemn morning right before the nation celebrates National Day to make sure that those who sacrificed their lives for the building of the nation are not forgotten. What more can you tell us about the upcoming commemorations?
Well, Zhongshi, yes, I am now standing at the Monument to the People's Heroes in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. And around me, people from all walks of life, including medical workers, representatives of minority communities, civil servants, and students are gathering to pay tribute to those who have contributed greatly to the nation's development. Well, since 2014, official ceremonies have been held every year, one day before China's National Day, to honor those who've made the ultimate sacrifice in a struggle for the creation of the People's Republic of China. Well, in about just 15 minutes or so, President Xi Jinping and other senior leaders will take part in the ceremony and present flower baskets in honor of those fallen national heroes. Well, those large flower baskets will be presented in the name of the highest governing bodies of China, including the Communist Party of Central Committee, the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress, the State Council, as well as other organizations and groups. Well, before that happens, those present will sing the national anthem, which will be followed by a 1-minute silence. Well, this is obviously a very important political event in China, and for almost a decade, Tiananmen Square has been the place where national leaders gather to commemorate the significant contributions and sacrifices made by the martyrs for Chinese liberation and independence. Well, President Xi has on many occasions emphasized the importance of remembering the country's national heroes and carrying their spirit forward. And the martyrs we honor are not only those who have laid down their lives since 1949, but those who have been lost as far as the First Opium War. So we're talking about the 19th century through the 20th century and up until today. There are hundreds and thousands of Chinese people who braved the odds and laid down their lives for China's independence and the happiness of Chinese people as a whole. So by honoring their heroic deeds, we as a nation are dedicating ourselves to the causes of China's rejuvenation and continued development, as well as for defending the peace and stability in the country. 钟实
CGTN's Dong Xue reporting live in Tiananmen Square in the heart of Beijing. Dong Xue, we appreciate that update. Thank you. A little less than a year ago, at the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, the country was called upon to forge ahead and unite in building China into a great modern socialist country by 2049. And this new journey will be fraught with challenges, with CPC Central Committee General Secretary Xi Jinping saying requires a fighting spirit and courage. Joining us on our special coverage today, Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Soochow University. Professor, welcome to our special coverage on the Martyrs Day. What a solemn occasion that makes your heart sing just a little bit, but also it's very encouraging to think that people will go to the lengths of making the ultimate sacrifice for the building of China. And this is the 10th year China has commemorated the Martyrs Day. What is the significance of having this day?
The Martyrs Day is a very important occasion in China. I think its significance can be looked at in two ways. On the one hand, it is a day of remembrance, of appreciation, of gratitude, and eternal love for all those who laid down their lives. On the other hand, I think it's a day of rededication, recommitment, and reconnect with all the heroes who laid down their lives before, and sustainability and renewal of the spirit of sacrifice in order to serve the country and serve the nation. So it's a very important day. We look back into the past, we rededicate today, and we look forward into the future. This is really how the Chinese civilization has been continuing to flourish, and how we will always carry forward the spirit of those martyrs, not only to today, but more importantly, into the future.
We will always carry forward their spirit, but people ask, in this day of age, do we still need martyrs? How would you answer that? Because we obviously are facing challenges both at home and abroad with a very complicated international context here. And let's not forget that China has in mind its 2049 goal of building the country into a prosperous, modern socialist country. Do we still need martyrs?
Well, while China today is relatively a prosperous country in great safety and security, we should always refuse to be complacent, because there are indeed enemies, domestic as well as foreign enemies, who do not wish us well, who probably just wish us all the bad things, and we need to be on full alert, constantly on the alert to fight off these enemies, both domestic as well as foreign. Now, in this struggle to protect the country, to defend the national sovereignty and security and territorial integrity, to promote the economic development, to make sure that people will always live in safety and security and welfare, for well-being, for example, lives will be lost. And there will be occasions when people will be called upon to muster all their courage, all their resources, all their vigilance, for example, and unfortunately, there will be such occasions again where heroism need to be demonstrated and displayed to the fullest. And I think as we honor the martyrs who made the ultimate sacrifices before, there will be occasions down the road when we will honor the new martyrs who will make the ultimate sacrifices.
Professor, it's a pleasure to have you on. Do stay with me here on our program. I'll be back with you in a few moments here. And to this day, there are still many brave Chinese who died risking their lives to save others or in answering the call of duty. We remember them on Martyrs Day.
This summer, Typhoon Toksory brought heavy rainfall to several regions in northern China, including Beijing. On July 31st, a group of firefighters was stranded during rescue operations in the capital's Haidian district. Feng Zhen urged his team members to get safety first. Exhausted by hours of fighting the floods, he was swept away by the raging waters. On the same day in Beijing, village cadres, including Xiongli, volunteered to visit dangerous areas that had been ravaged by floodwaters in the Mentogo district. Xiongli died when a segment of a parapet along the railway embankment suddenly collapsed. Typhoon Toksory tracked a course further northeast towards the province of Liaoning. 4 public officials in Liaoning city of Shulan drowned while carrying out disaster relief operations. They are Luo Xudong, the city's executive deputy mayor; Zhou Kunxun, the political commissar of the People's Armed Forces Department; Ni Feng, a senior engineer at the Jilin City Water Resources and Hydropower Planning Institute; and Zhang Zhizhao from the Municipal Government Office. The country also pays tribute to the defenders of national security. Senior engineer Luo Yang was at the peak of his career as a designer of Chinese warplanes when he died of a heart attack at the age of 51 on November 25, 2012. A few days before his death, he had successfully commanded the J-15 fighter jet's debut landing aboard China's first ever aircraft carrier, the Liaoning. Luo Yang is honored as a martyr since he devoted his life to developing the country's own aircraft carrier, crucial to the defense of its seas and sovereignty. Zhang Dan, CGTN.
And let us continue our discussions with Soochow University Chair Professor Victor Gao joining me here in the studio. Professor, when we talk about heroes and martyrs, we think of dramatic, dangerous scenarios, armed conflicts and war, but heroes arise in a much broader range of situations and circumstances, for example, natural disasters. There were many stories of heroism and selflessness that arose during the floods that hit northern China just a couple months ago. How would you define heroism in the modern day, in China today?
Well, first of all, in China, to be classified as a martyr is really the highest honor because it indicates that the martyr has laid down their lives under extreme or very difficult situations, and the country and the nation honor them with the highest honor. Now, the martyrs may encounter such extreme moments not only on the battleground or in the forefront of a war, for example, but indeed in ordinary lives. The Good Samaritans, they may actually lay down their lives in order to save other people in ordinary daily life or in natural disasters, in the fire, the firefighters or the police officers, for example, or a teacher try to shield the body of the students. So a martyr is not an ordinary human being. A martyr is a superman, superwoman, and the fact that they dare to brave all the challenges, overcome all the odds, and to save other people rather than save their own lives is really an occasion for them to demonstrate to the fullest of the satisfaction of the whole nation, and also for the future generation to constantly experience those occasions which are really the highlights of the whole nation, because these are the shining moments when the Chinese nation will see through these martyrs the best form of their human being that they want to live themselves.
And you know, a lot of the times they're not even men and women in uniform. They are just, you mentioned teachers, you know, they're just everyday people that rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion, and end up given the ultimate sacrifice here. Professor, it's been 5 years since China enacted a law to protect the reputation and honor of heroes and martyrs. Why was that necessary to have a piece of legislation that specifically addresses this issue?
It is absolutely important and necessary. Why? Because China has been living in peace for quite a few decades. And many people, especially the younger generation, actually do not have own personal connections with the wartime, for example, either in the war of resistance against the Japanese aggressions or in the Korean War, when the Chinese volunteers actually went to Korea to fight off the aggressors from the south. And sometimes people not only do not know, they choose to forget. And on some occasions, there are people who actually want to distort the realities or the facts involving the martyrs before. Now, this is not tolerable because the whole nation want to give the highest honor to these martyrs, and we do not want to have any of such facts related to the martyrs being distorted or being blasphemy, for example, committed to these martyrs. That's why I think the whole nation supports this new law honoring the martyrs and incriminating such behavior to distort the realities or the facts about the martyrs. And this law is designed to make sure that the martyrs will always be respected as they are, and their spirit will be carried forward, not only to our generation, but more importantly, to the future generations. And each generation will have younger people, school kids, for example, who need to know about what the sacrifices that these martyrs have made.
You spoke of the unfortunate disconnection between some young people and the martyrs. In terms of education, what can we do to do a better job at informing today's younger generations about the sacrifices made by martyrs, and how do we just enhance that connection?
Well, in China today, when we achieve higher and higher standards of living, and people sometimes indulge in materialistic pursuits, everyone wants to have a better life, they want to live in a better house, etc. Sometimes they forget the difficulties, the hardships, and the sacrifices encountered by our forefathers in the past, especially the wartime, the conflicts, the foreign aggression, the occupation, etc. Therefore, I would say China needs to remind every one of us, especially school kids, that these martyrs are really the true heroes that we need to admire and appreciate. They are not figures far away in the past. They live with us because we are connected with them in blood and in spirit, and we are the reincarnations of those sacrifices that they made. The lives they lost are reconnected with us and rededicated to our future generations. I think the younger generation need to really embrace these martyrs as
Professor,
our own
I
heroes.
think the ceremony commemorating the heroes and martyrs is getting started in Tiananmen Square. Let's turn back to the heart of Beijing, to Tiananmen Square, and watch the ceremony together. If you're just joining us here on CGTN, you're looking at live pictures coming out of Tiananmen Square in the heart of the Chinese capital. A ceremony marking China's Martyrs' Day is being held in Beijing at Tiananmen Square. Leaders and representatives from all walks of life are gathering at the monument to the people's heroes to pay tribute to those who have lost their lives fighting for freedom and the country's sovereignty. Martyrs' Day is meant to commemorate these brave fighters so future generations will remember their sacrifices. And just now you saw China's senior leadership, including the Chinese president, entering the ceremony. We're moments away from the start of the ceremony. Located in central Beijing, Tiananmen Square has witnessed a number of historical events over the decades. It's home to the Tiananmen Tower, the monument to the people's heroes, the Great Hall of the People, and the Chairman Mao Memorial Hall. People arrive early in the morning to catch the daily flag-raising ceremony. With a total area of 440,000 square meters, the square is equivalent in size to 61 football pitches and spacious enough to accommodate 1 million people. Over the years, many ceremonies and events have been held right here at Tiananmen Square. And if we go back a little bit further in history, on October 1st, in 1949, an important event took place also at Tiananmen Square. And Chairman Mao Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic of China. And you're looking at live pictures at Tiananmen Square right now, where people are getting ready to commemorate the Martyrs' Day. And this is, as we were telling you just now, where a ceremony declaring the founding of the People's Republic of China The trumpets signal a prelude to the ceremony.
Today
is Martyrs' Day. We hold a grand ceremony to pay tribute to the monument to the people's heroes. The ceremony begins now. We sing the national anthem of the People's Republic of China.
向为中国人民解放事业
Now, we
和
observe
共和国建设事业
a moment of silence
英
for the
勇
fallen
献身的烈
heroes
士
who dedicated themselves
默哀
to the cause of the Chinese people's liberation and the country's building.
默哀毕。
End
少年儿
of the
童
moment of silence.
献唱，
Now,
我们是
the children's
共产
choir
主义接班人。
sings, "We are the heirs of communism."
我们是共产主义接班人，继承革命先辈的光荣传统，爱祖国，爱人民，鲜艳的红领巾飘扬在肩上。滚滚滚滚的敌人啊敌人，血酸血血直到坚决投降，向着胜利勇敢前进，向着胜利勇敢前进前进，向着胜利勇敢前进。我们是共产主义接班人，我们是共产主义接班人，沿着革命先辈的光荣路程，爱祖国，爱人民，少先队员是我们骄傲的名称。青春，青春在贡献的梦想，要把理想的感，向的感，推着理想勇敢前进，推着理想勇敢前进前进，推着理想向勇敢前进。我们是共产主义接班人。
向人民英雄敬献花篮。
Now, the floral tributes will be presented to honor people's heroes.
这么走。
我
Young pioneers are also joining the ceremony, and just now you saw the lineup of China's most senior leadership. Chinese President Xi Jinping, along with other party and government officials, attended a ceremony of the Martyrs' Day in the heart of Beijing, honoring China's fallen heroes. Also in attendance are veterans, the families of revolutionary martyrs, and also young pioneers, as you see in the light pictures right now, presenting floral tributes at the monument to the people's heroes. China has almost 1 million burial sites dedicated to martyrs, and millions of people visit memorials for heroes in China every year. Films, TV series, and books about their stories are popular with Chinese people. The government also supports the families of martyrs. Central authorities have issued regulations to protect memorial sites, and they have increased pensions for the heroes' families. And these are veterans, a very important part of the ceremony, also entering the site. Upholding patriotism is also a key area of Xi Jinping's thoughts in the new era. He has said on several occasions that patriotism is the force that brings different ethnic groups together. President Xi also said upholding patriotism and the Chinese nation's solidarity must go hand in hand. An ongoing ceremony for China's Martyrs' Day, attended by the country's top leaders, representatives from different walks of life, and young pioneers. The Chinese president has spoken repeatedly about heroism. He has said that heroes should always be remembered and respected, whether they have died in wars or at their posts. President Xi said it's important for China to establish a tradition of honoring its heroes and martyrs. He also said a nation still needs heroism, even in times of peace, and that heroes are the coordinates to guide the nation in a given direction. An estimated 20 million martyrs have given their lives for the independence and prosperity of China. However, the official list of verified names has only about 2 million due to the scarcity of records in times of conflict. Data from the Ministry of Veterans Affairs shows that China has 160,000 facilities and sites memorializing heroes and martyrs, with 1,600 institutes specializing in their maintenance. And there are 300 Chinese national memorial facilities in 50 countries and regions across the world, where 110,000 heroes and martyrs have been buried. As we mentioned earlier, in August 2014, the National People's Congress designated September 30th as Martyrs' Day. It gave the Chinese people a day dedicated to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good of the Chinese nation. The move is aimed at publicizing the martyrs' achievements and spirit and cultivating patriotism, collectivism, and socialist moralities so as to consolidate the Chinese nation's coerciveness. Martyrs' Day, which comes just one day before China's National Day on October 1st, has a special significance. It was also the day on which the foundations were laid for the monument to the people's heroes in 1949 in Tiananmen Square, which is where today's ceremony is taking place. China has been participating in UN peacekeeping missions around the globe for over 30 years. In September 2020, China released a white paper on the participation of its armed forces in the United Nations peacekeeping operations. In the past 30 years, over 40,000 Chinese peacekeepers have been sent to 25 UN missions in more than 20 countries and regions. China has become the second largest contributor to both the regular and peacekeeping budgets of the UN and the largest troop contributor among the permanent members of the UN Security Council. In 2018, China approved legislation to protect and honor the country's fallen heroes. A solemn ceremony in the heart of Beijing honoring China's fallen heroes on this year's Martyrs' Day, attended by the Chinese president, along other senior officials with the party and government. Let's bring back Victor Gao, Chair Professor at Tsuchiao University. Professor, absolutely awe-inspiring to watch. I think I trembled a little bit just watching how the ceremony unfolded there. What were the messages sent from this year's commemorations to you?
Indeed, the ceremony is very solemn, very significant, and I think it's not only a great remembrance of all the fallen heroes, but also an occasion to rededicate our whole nation, recommit our nation for the future endeavors, because we are now living in peace. We want to make sure peace prevails. But there are dangerous signs that others may not want to push peace, they want to push Cold War or even hot war. So we need to be on vigilance, we need to be on the full alert, and I think the younger generation in particular in China need to be educated as to who are these fallen heroes, what they did, what's their contribution, and how we moved from the past when China suffered hardships and backwardness, for example, poverty, and to today when we enjoy relative prosperity, and what will be the future of China when by the middle of this century we want to achieve comprehensive developed country in all respect. So this is a process, it's an ongoing process, and the martyrs, as you just now mentioned, quoting President Xi Jinping, are the key coordinates in the roadmap.
And you can really get a sense of why this day is set one day before the National Day, so that people don't forget that peace and prosperity did not come easy, and we should cherish all of it as we celebrate the founding of the country. Professor, a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for making time for us today. And with that, we come to the end of our special coverage of China's 10th Martyrs' Day. I'm Zhong Shi. Thank you so much for watching, and news continues on CGTN.